guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and I'm here with my, what month is it? June? My June mid-month wrap-up, and I have read 13 books. I am filming this on the 15th. If I had waited an extra day, I probably would have had one, if not two more, because I'm almost done with an ebook, and I'm like halfway through an audiobook, but 13 is still really great. I did go on a vacation with my family to the beach where I read pretty much a book a day, and it was fabulous, but then I got back home and have barely read. I've read like 5% of my ebook every day, so I've definitely been reading a lot more audiobooks that I'm really excited about, but I will go ahead and get to everything I read so far in the month of June. So what I've done on Hoopla is I have started going to my favorite narrators and finding audiobooks that they've narrated by authors I've never heard of before. That could be a hit or miss depending on how good the book turns out to be. So I ended up finding this hockey romance called Benched by Colleen Charles, and this one started off sounding so promising. So the hero is a hockey player and he walks in on his girlfriend, his longtime girlfriend, hooking up with someone, and I can't remember if it was his brother or someone he knew, and he is horrified, so angry that he ends up getting drunk, and he lives on his parents' farm and he wants to go to like his neighbor's farm, so he gets in the car drunk, drives there, and gets run into by a semi-truck, and he ends up at the hospital. The heroine is his best friend's sister, so she sees that happened, is nervous for him because she thinks like no one's gonna be there for him, so she just shows up to the hospital to make sure he's okay, and it's their romance. This book, I don't know, I was looking at Goodreads and it looked like it was like serialized, so it looked like it came out in parts or something. I don't know what was up with this book, but it was so dramatic. It got so overly dramatic and I was just like, I don't know what I'm reading. I gave it 2 stars, and because it was dramatic, not in a good way. The plot was all over the place. The romance, like I said, started off so good. I was like, oh my gosh, like it is brother's best friend and he just caught someone that he loved cheating on him and he's like an emotional wreck, but it just got more and more crazy, and like the characters were annoying, and it just went on and on and on, and I was not into it. I just finally just put my headphones in and was just trying to finish because I didn't care how it ended. So this one was 2 stars for me. Sadly a miss. Then I started a video where I read until I got to a 5-star book, and I was picking up some authors that I love, but also books that I thought I would really love that I just wanted to try out the authors. So I read Under the Stars by Nora Pavlov. This is book 2 in the Cottonwood Cove series. This is her newest book. I gave this one 4 stars. She gets a job working for our hero, who is a billionaire in town. He has this company and she needs a job, so she applies to be his assistant, and she is someone though who is very abrasive and like upfront and rude to her boss, and I am very much a rule follower where I would be horrified speaking to my boss that way, and she had no problem talking back to him and just being rude to him, but he loves that. He ends up being really intrigued by her and they end up falling for each other. He has a bit of a traumatic past that really affects how he lets people get close to him, and the heroine has a really great family. I love Laura's ability to write families. I have read so many of her books this month because I also got a bunch of hers on audio, which I will go into those, but this one I ended up really liking. I loved the whole Under the Stars aspect of it as well. It was very cute, and I really loved how they ended up really falling for each other, and he started falling for small town life because he had been forced to move his company to their small town and didn't really want to, and now he's like, I don't mind it. The small town aspect's really fun too. You have meddling characters, you have very interesting and unique characters in town, so 4 stars for this one. I think I liked book 1 better, but this was still a fun read. The next book I read for that vlog is A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halley. This is a pirate romance, and it is a Little Mermaid retelling. So in this one, it is fantasy, so our heroine gets what she wants. She makes a deal with this sea witch, and she gets legs, and she gets to marry Prince Eric. Prince Eric turns out to be horrible and abusive, and she is stuck with him for like 10 years, and then they are kidnapped by pirates, and she falls for the pirate captain, and the pirate captain has secrets of his own, and the beginning of this book is very slow. So I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars because like halfway through and on was so good. So action-packed, so many secrets coming out. You don't know what Ariel's gonna do because I think her name, I don't even remember if her name was Ariel in the book, but the heroine, you don't know what she's gonna do because she, just like Ariel in the book, regrets her decision and she wants to return to the sea. Now they are very much like siren mermaids though, so they do some not evil things, but like they eat the hearts of men. Like, they are sirens, and so she is returning back to kind of that world and seeing what's changed in the last 10 years while kind of falling for this guy who kidnapped her, and he, like I said, has secrets of his own, and they run into other things happening, and they want revenge on a sea witch, and there's a lot to unravel here, and I just feel like the plot really didn't pick up until halfway through. The first half I was pretty bored by. I was like, nothing's progressing, and the romance wasn't progressing, which was really frustrating. But then, like, I think 40% they were finally romantic feelings involved and everything started moving forward. But it was definitely very unique and very fun and very atmospheric. So if you want a fantasy pirate romance, check this one out. Then I picked up Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This one I have been seeing a lot of people raving about. I saw When in Rome around and the cheat sheet around, and people love those, but I was like, I don't know if they really are my thing. This one's a bodyguard romance. She owns a flower shop in their small town, and he is a bodyguard for the heroine of book one, who is a singer, and she marries her brother. So she's coming back to the small town to get married, so he gets put on assignment there. He's running from a past. He doesn't want to really settle down, so he loves his job where he can travel all over the world and be a bodyguard. And so what happens is he is assigned to the small town and sees her. She's not great at dating. She is determined. She's like, I want to marry someone. Her friend, who is now her like soon-to-be sister-in-law, is like, why doesn't my bodyguard like help you date? She doesn't tell anybody, but she went on a date in the beginning of the novel and it went horribly wrong. He like called her boring and made an excuse to leave. It was just super awkward. And on that date, she saw that he was back in town and like awkwardly ran into him, and she realizes she's not like nervous around him. So he agrees reluctantly to help her practice to like date, and that's their romance. I really like a fake dating, like practice dating romance. It was very sweet, very cute, and I loved how they fell for each other. I love a tattooed hero too, which he is. I feel like I read a lot in a row with tattooed heroes. Love that. And how he is determined not to stay in the small town and leave, and that's really a point of contention in their relationship because she knows he's gonna leave, and he is in denial about wanting to settle down because of things that happened in his past. But I really ended up enjoying it. I gave it 4.5 stars, and this one also though was Fade to Black, which I knew about this author, and there's points in here though where there's so much building tension that I'm like, I want to see the spice so I can see the culmination of everything that's been building instead of saying, well, and then this happened and then moving on to the next chapter. So I did know going into it was Fade to Black, so know that. Then I finished the audiobook of The Rest of Me by Ashley Munoz. This one I gave like 3.5 stars. It's a small town romance. It's very emotional. The heroine in the beginning starts out having lost her husband a year ago, and she is still not recovered. She still can't move on. She is just trying day by day to survive for her kids, and they end up moving next door to the hero, and the hero ends up falling for the mom, and it's just very like low angst with the romance itself and very sweet, and I was a little bit bored by it, but that's just a personal preference. If you like low angst and really sweet romances where he is really stepping in and integrating into their lives and showing them how to be happy again, I feel like you would like this one, but I just wanted a little bit more out of a small town romance, so I gave it 3.5 stars. I'm excited to try out more from this author. I think I have Resisting the Grump, and I have a couple other ones by her, so I'm excited to check out more. This one just was not for me. Then I read Keep Her Safe by QB Tyler. This one is absolutely a 5-star read. It is a bodyguard romance. The heroine got him as a bodyguard when she was like 18, and she immediately was like super into him. He was 30, so I think there's a 12-year age gap in here, and she, a year or two later, hits on him, and she's like, I want to date you, and he's like, no, and he was about to quit at that point when her parents died, and so he decided he had to stay on with her, and he has been with her for the past 5 years, and now she is in her early 20s, and she figures out her boyfriend's cheating on her. It was her long-term boyfriend. Like right after the debacle happened with him, she started dating her boyfriend. They've been dating for a long time. She thought she was in love. He cheated on her, but she's up for an award season's coming up, and so her PR people are like, you need to act like you're still dating. We need you to look good in the media so you can win this award, and she doesn't want to do it, but she agrees. And on the side, she is finally falling for her bodyguard, and feelings are coming to the surface, and spice is happening, and I loved it. The hero is so protective and possessive because it's like literally his job, but like to the extreme, and I loved it. So much spice in here, so much tension that is built in here where the hero like plays with her and like leaves her hanging a couple times, and I'm just like dying. I loved it so much. The spice is always such a good part of the plot in QB Tyler's books. This one's no exception. I absolutely loved it. I loved how they had to keep it secret because she's supposed to be like dating this guy, and then the hero is just so overprotective and he's like, I don't want him anywhere near you, and it's really good. I really loved it. We have some suspense at the end too, which I also love because obviously he's a bodyguard. She's a celebrity, like something could happen. So overall 5 stars. Check this out, please. Then I read X's and O's by Amy Leah. This is another one I've seen a lot of people talking about that sounded like I might like it, so I got it from the library and I gave this one 4.5 stars. This was so cute. So I was worried because it's about a bookstagrammer, and I'm very critical of characters with a profession or hobby that is mine because I know that profession or hobby. She's a bookstagrammer and she also is a nurse. So I have a sister who is a nurse. So like everything about this, I was like, this could either go really, really well or really, really poorly. Thankfully, I loved it. I would have loved to see a little bit more of her job because it wasn't really mentioned. I don't think we ever saw her like at work, but she has to, so this is book 2 in a series like the other one, but I wasn't interested in the first one. I haven't heard the best things about the first one, so I skipped to this one. She was, I think, rooming with the heroine, but she like is now dating someone and she kind of got kicked out of the apartment, so she is moving in to this new apartment with a new roommate, and when she immediately arrives, he is having sex with someone on the kitchen counter. So she is horrified and runs into the bathroom. He collects himself, says goodbye to his date, and then comes and talks to her. The heroine just got out of a relationship and it was with a doctor who works at her hospital. She is really close with her grandmother and she is jealous, not like of her grandmother, but her grandmother got reunited with someone from her past. He was her high school sweetheart, and she, I think she's getting married or she's just like really happy and in love. So the heroine is like, that's what I need to do. I need to find an ex from my past who is my second chance romance. And so she is going to track down every single ex that she has and see if they can be back together. And so she has been told a lot though that she is a lot and she doesn't feel like she can be in a like good relationship because she like scares people away. So the hero is going to help her with this, and the hero is determined to never settle down because he has not seen good relationships in his past, and he's like I could never have that. And so she starts tracking down her exes and he helps her. And he is falling so hard for her the whole time, and I love it when the hero falls first and it's just watching from the sidelines like, oh my god, I love her. This one is something where miscommunication does pop up in the end, which is why I gave it 4.5 stars, but like they acknowledged it and worked through it. So I was annoyed that it happened. I was like, well, this is like obviously kind of an obvious conflict that's gonna pop up with whatever happened. Like he saw something, assumed something, and then was like, well, never mind. And she's like, but you just misinterpreted what happened. They didn't talk about it, which I feel like is just a easy conflict to have at the end that I would have appreciated it not having. But overall, I was very, very impressed with this book. I had so much fun reading it, and it does have spice, which I appreciated as well. So definitely check this one out. Okay, so then I started my Laura Pavlov Honey Mountain binge. So Audible had a sale where it was, everything was pretty much on sale, but nothing was that good. So there were only a few authors where stuff was under like $5. Their last sale, they had so much under $5. This one, there was a lot that wasn't even cheaper than Whisper Sync, and I was like, what's the point? So Laura's series was one of them. I will go ahead and just talk through all 3 of these. So I listened to all 3 of these while I was on vacation, and then when I got back, I only have one left, which I'm saving for my Patreon readathon that starts today. So that is a Jonas Brothers themed readathon. If you're interested, my Patreon is down below. But I listened to 3 of these. The first book I gave like 3.5 stars. It was fine. These get so good. So I read book 2, which is Evermind. This one is a second chance romance, sports romance. He's a hockey player and he is kind of in a rut in his career. So the team hires our heroine, who is a sports psychologist, to help get his head back in the game. And they end up reuniting and falling back in love. And this one had like a little bit of drama at the end that I wasn't the biggest fan of. It was kind of similar to that other book I was talking about where there was something that they saw, misinterpreted, and like ran away all upset instead of just like communicating. So this one has 4.5 stars, but I really love the second chance aspect. The series is all about sisters, and I loved the bond the sisters have together. They see each other all the time, they talk all the time, they text each other. The audios are phenomenal. I flew through them. Really enjoyed this one, but then the next one was my favorite. It is Make You Mine. It is an age gap firefighter nanny romance, single single dad. The hero had gotten his girlfriend pregnant, and she's not the best, but they got married, had another baby, and she is a horrible mom. She doesn't care about her kids. She has substance abuse issues, so she's out of the picture. The hero's a firefighter though, so he has a lot of long shifts. He needs help. So the fire chief's daughter, our heroine, is writing a book. She wants to be an author, so she said that she would be happy to nanny and just write in her free time. So she does. The daughters are adorable. They definitely have trauma from their mom leaving and are working through that. And so the heroine is really there to help them and be a stable part of their lives, which I really loved that role for her in this book. And she's obviously falling for her older boss. There's like an instance in the beginning building tension where she catches him in the shower on accident because of the daughters and can't get that out of her mind, and they start falling for each other, and this is definitely my favorite. I love this. And a lot of Laura's books though, they get together probably around like the 70% mark, and then we have some drama added on to the romance. So I would have loved to see a little bit longer time of them falling for each other than getting together then, because this one had drama with the ex. Not necessarily like the ex wanted to get back with him, but like with the kids. So I gave this 4.5 stars, rounding up to 5 though. I really loved it. And then I did most recently finish Simply Mine, which is kind of a second chance. So this one is a sister's best friend. So the hero's sister, it's her best friend. They had hooked up in high school, and then the hero left. And so they never really did anything more, but he left to be a big hotshot architect. Now he's back in town, and she is an elementary school teacher, and they are there for her best friend's wedding, so his sister's wedding. So she does not want to upset her best friend at all by rekindling anything, but they obviously start rekindling something, and then they decide it's just going to be for the wedding, and they'll go their separate ways. Obviously they catch feelings, and that's not going to happen, but I did really enjoy this. Again, small town vibes, strong family vibes. I really love this series. This one is like 4.5 as well. Book 3 is my favorite, and I'm excited to read book 5. This series I highly recommend checking out though. Now that I got that all out of the way, the last book I read actually on vacation was Black Hills by Nora Roberts. This one I gave 4.5 stars. It is my favorite Nora Roberts book now. This one is romantic suspense, which she always writes, and it is second chance, and the heroine owns a nature animal preserve in her hometown. So she grew up on a farm, and she grew up nearby the hero's grandparents. So the hero's parents don't care about him. So that summer he spends on his grandparents' farms and meets the heroine, and they form a really strong friendship that obviously blossoms into something more. Like, it was destined. They knew as soon as they got to a certain age they're gonna have feelings for each other and explore that, so they started dating. But then we flash forward and we see, it's like 10 years I want to say, the hero had broken her heart and left. So they tried to keep something up while they were in college, but that didn't happen, and now she has achieved her dream of having an animal sanctuary, and she has been helping like these big cats, and that's what she's always wanted to do, and she's opened it on the land by her parents' farm and has really built something for herself. Well, what happens is the hero's grandfather breaks his leg or something. He falls off of a horse and he can't work their farm anymore. So the hero moves back. He had first been a police officer and then left for private investigating and like security, and now he is back in their hometown and working on his grandparents' farm to help them. So he inevitably runs into the heroine, and someone is sabotaging the sanctuary. Someone is messing with the cameras, threatening them, killing some animals. Please know there's animal death in here. That's really, really, really sad as someone who is an animal lover. So it wasn't graphic. It happened off page, but they saw the results. So just know that in this one. But someone is sabotaging and threatening the heroine. So the hero's immediately like, I'm gonna be every step of the way with you. I'm never letting you out of my sight. We're gonna figure this out. So that's basically what the whole book is about. I love the second chance aspect because she obviously doesn't want anything to do with him. He broke her heart, but now he's like, I can't leave you out of my sight. They start rehashing their hurt and going over what happened and falling back in love and trying to deal with this dangerous guy. I think that it slowed down a lot in the middle, which is why I gave it 4.5 stars, but I was obsessed with the beginning and the end. It's not really a mystery who the villain is. It's more of a, what is he gonna do next and how are they gonna get out of it? So don't expect some big mystery. It's definitely just more romantic suspense, but I had so much fun reading this and I'm glad I did. Then I read, I think my favorite, am I gonna say it's one of my favorites. I think it's tied with Keep Her Safe of the month so far, and that is Something Wild and Wonderful by Anita Kelly. This is an MM romance, and I was blown away. So I got it because like the cover's cute and it's about the Pacific Coast Trail. So they're hiking a trail together, and I was like, wilderness, it's summer, sure, let's buy this. And I read it in one day. So I read this on the drive home from Myrtle Beach. It was supposed to be a 9.5 hour drive, turned into 12. I drove 5 of it, so half the drive I had to read this book. I could not put it down. The heroes both have very traumatic pasts. So Alexei had recently come out to his family that he was gay. They were very religious. He grew up in the church and they immediately cut him off. So he has not even talked to his family in like a year. He talks to his sister still, but his parents, and he was really close with his family. So it's really hard for him to cope with this and cope with his relationship with the church. And he is hiking this trail just for therapy, for some goal to have and to do, and he's always grown up liking hiking and wilderness stuff because of his dad. Ben is on the trail because he has always had the string of toxic relationships and he needs to work on himself, so he's on the trail too. They run into each other and immediately kind of like each other and start hiking together. And Alexei is such a special character. I don't want to spoil what happens with this character, but he is definitely someone who has a lot that he is going through and a lot he's trying to understand about his own identity. And so they are hiking together and helping each other through things and falling in love. And I cried. I loved this book so much. I loved their relationship and I was so in love with these characters. These are characters that I just wanted to like hug and like put in my pocket and protect from the world because they deserved everything, and I loved them. I loved the friends that we met of Ben's and Ben's family, and Alexei trying to just grapple with his loss. Like, he lost family and he doesn't know how to cope with that. And so we have a lot of letters near the end too, which is really why I was crying, of them trying to cope with things that happened to them. And I just loved it. I love the setting. I loved them hiking, and this is just amazing. So please read it if that all sounds interesting to you, because I loved it. And the last audio I read is Anchor of Secrets by Tessa Hale. I am actually on Tessa Hale's ARC team, which is why I'm reviewing this. I did help with the marketing of it with my marketing company, but I also read this as a reviewer and I gave it 4.5 stars. So this one is the second book in the Supernaturals of Castle Academy series, I think is what it's called. So the heroine came from an abusive household and a boy from her past shows up and whisks her away to his like mansion with his dad and his friends and this school that they go to, and it turns out they are all supernatural beings and they are her fated mates. So the end of book 1 was a cliffhanger. She was kidnapped and then we figure out what happened to her in this one. I love this one even more than book 1. I gave book 1 I think 4 stars. This one, there's so much action. Like, there is like no slow parts of this plot. It's a shorter audiobook. I think it was like 7 hours, so I flew through it, and we get a lot of the heroes past. So this is why I choose. So there are, I think, 5 heroes, and we unravel things about them that I really appreciated, seeing them on a deeper level and getting to know them individually, and her relationship with them and their relationships with each other and how they had to address some things like from their past with each other, and I really enjoyed it. So it had good emotion, but it also had a lot of action, and she's trying to figure out if she has any power or not because she's supposed to be their fated mate, and I had a lot of fun. Of course, there's another cliffhanger, so we will get book 3 sometime soon, I think in a couple months, and I can't wait to see what happens next and how this series concludes. And those are the books that I read in the first half of June. Let me know if you've read any of these or what you're excited to read and what your favorite read of the month is so far. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.